All right, let's talk oligarchy. It's a term that might sound like it belongs in a history book or a political science class, but it's very much a part of our everyday lives. You might think it's just about a few rich folks living in luxury, but it's way more complex than that. Sounds like a fancy tea party, right? A gathering of the elite, sipping on their expensive teas and discussing their next big investment. Wrong, it's more like a rigged game, and guess what? We're all playing in it. Imagine a Monopoly game where a few players start with all the properties and money, while the rest of us scramble for scraps. See, oligarchy isn't just about the 1% being loaded. It's about a small group of people who have the power to shape the world to their advantage. It's about how that wealth buys them control. Control over political decisions, economic policies, and even social norms. Control over laws, media, even the way we think. They influence what we see on the news, what we read in the papers, and what we believe is possible. Think of it like a board game. But unlike a fair game where everyone has an equal chance, this one is stacked in favor of the few. The oligarchs? They get to write the rules, control the bank, and probably even spike your drink with something weird. They have the power to change the game whenever they want, ensuring they always come out on top. So yeah, oligarchy is bad news. It's not just an abstract concept. It's a real and present danger to democracy and fairness. But don't just take my word for it. History's got receipts. From ancient empires to modern states, the story is the same. Concentrated power leads to corruption and inequality. So the next time you hear the word oligarchy, remember, it's more than just rich folks. It's a system that affects us all. Remember ancient Rome, gladiators, togas, rampant corruption? Yeah, that. Turns out behind all the grandeur was a tiny group of families pulling the strings. These guys weren't just rich, they owned Rome, land, resources, you name it. They even controlled the Senate, which was supposed to be, democratic. Spoiler, it wasn't. The lesson here, money talks, and in ancient Rome it spoke fluent Latin and rigged the whole damn system. Fast forward to Renaissance Italy, meet the Medici family, bankers, art patrons, and low-key rulers of Florence. Talk about a side hustle. The Medici were masters of leverage. They used their wealth to control politicians, influence elections, and even silence critics. Basically, they turned Florence into their own little fiefdom. It's like that friend who always picks the restaurant because they're footing the bill, except, in this case, the restaurant is an entire city-state. Not cool, Medici. Think oligarchy is a relic of the past. Think again. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? That wasn't just a market crash. It was an oligarchy flex. Wall Street, with its fancy derivatives and subprime mortgages, turned the global economy into a casino. And guess who got bailed out when the house always wins? Not the folks who lost their homes. The 2008 crisis proved that even today, a small group can wield enormous power and they're not afraid to use it, even if it means crashing the entire damn system. Section 5, from railroads to algorithms, oligarchies' adaptable appetite. Here's the thing about oligarchies, they're like cockroaches, they adapt. In the 19th century, it was all about controlling railroads and oil. Today, it's algorithms and data. Big tech knows everything about us, what we buy, what we watch, who we date. They use this information to manipulate our choices, sell us stuff, and even influence elections. It's like they're playing a giant game of SimCity, but with real people. And let's face it, their track record isn't great. Remember the whole Cambridge Analytica thing? Yeah, creepy. Section 6. Democracy's slow fade, how freedom gets hijacked. Here's the scary part. Democracies don't just disappear overnight, they get hollowed out from the inside like a termite-infested log cabin cozy, but structurally unsound. First, they capture the economy. Then it's the institutions, think courts, legislatures, regulatory bodies, and finally it's our minds. They control the media, fund think tanks, and shape the narratives we consume. By the time we realize what's happening, it's too late. We're living in an oligarchy wearing a democracy mask. Spooky, right? Section 7. The illusion of choice, oligarchies, smoke and mirrors. Here's the sneaky thing about oligarchies. They want you to You have a choice. You can choose between 50 brands of cereal, but guess what? They're all owned by like 3 companies. It's like that scene in The Matrix where Morpheus offers Neo the red pill or the blue pill, except in this case, both pills are actually blue, just with different branding. Oligarchies thrive on the illusion of freedom. It keeps us passive, complacent, and most importantly, consuming. Section 8. Can't buy happiness, can't buy stability, oligarchies' fatal flaw. Here's the good news. Oligarchies are inherently unstable. They may seem invincible with their vast resources and influence, but history tells a different story. The concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few creates a fragile system prone to collapse. Why? Because hoarding wealth creates massive inequality, and eventually the whole damn thing collapses under its own weight. Think of 14th century Venice. This city was once a beacon of trade and prosperity, a hub of commerce and culture, but as wealth became concentrated in the hands of a few elite families, the social fabric began to tear apart. It was an economic powerhouse, but all that wealth was concentrated in the hands of a few families. Result? Revolution, or America's Gilded Age. The late 19th century saw unprecedented economic growth, but also staggering inequality. The rich lived in opulence, while the poor struggled to survive. This disparity led to social unrest and demands for change. Rampant inequality led to labor unrest, political upheaval, and eventually the New Deal. Workers organized strikes demanding fair wages and better working conditions. Political movements gained momentum, pushing for reforms to address the economic disparities. The New Deal was a response to these pressures, aiming to create a more equitable society. The lesson? Oligarchies are like those ridiculously tall ice cream cones. They may look impressive, towering above everything else, but their very structure makes them unstable. The higher they rise, the more precarious they become. They look impressive, but they're destined to topple over. The weight of inequality and the pressure from those left behind eventually cause the whole system to crumble. History has shown us time and again that no matter how powerful an oligarchy may seem, it cannot sustain itself indefinitely. The cracks will appear, and the fall is inevitable. Section 9. Wake-up call. How to fight back, because history shows we can. Throughout history there have been countless moments when people face seemingly insurmountable challenges. Yet time and again they rose to the occasion, proving that collective action can bring about significant change. So, what can we do? The first step is to recognize that we are not powerless. Each of us has a role to play, no matter how small it may seem. By coming together, sharing ideas and strategizing, we can create a powerful force for change. Give up and binge-watch dystopian TV shows? Tempting but not helpful. Instead of succumbing to despair, we need to channel our energy into productive actions. Turning off the TV and getting involved in our communities is a great start. History shows us that oligarchies aren't invincible. Remember Solon, ancient Athenian reformer? Solon was a visionary who understood the power of the people. He enacted reforms that broke the stranglehold of the aristocracy and laid the groundwork for what would become one of the earliest forms of democracy. He broke up the aristocracy's power and laid the foundation for democracy. Or Savonarola in Florence. Savonarola was a fiery preacher who challenged the powerful Medici family and led a popular movement for reform. His actions, though controversial, showed that even the mightiest can be challenged. He challenged the Medici and led a popular movement for reform. And let's not forget the New Deal. Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal was a series of programs and policies designed to lift the United States out of the Great Depression. And let's not forget the New Deal. It tackled inequality, regulated Wall Street, and showed that even in the face of oligarchic power, we can fight back. The New Deal created jobs, built infrastructure, and provided a safety net for the most vulnerable. It tackled inequality, regulated Wall Street, and showed that even in the face of oligarchic power, we can fight back. These historical examples remind us that change is possible, but it requires determination, courage, and collective effort. The tools of control, surveillance, networks, algorithms, can also be tools of resistance. In today's digital age, technology can be a double-edged sword. While it can be used to monitor and control, it can also be harnessed to organize, mobilize, and amplify our voices. We can organize, mobilize, and demand change. Social media platforms, online petitions, and virtual town halls are just a few ways we can connect and coordinate our efforts. By leveraging these tools, we can reach a wider audience and build a stronger movement. Remember, the future isn't predetermined. It's shaped by the actions we take today. Every decision, every conversation, and every act of resistance contributes to the larger picture. We have the power to influence the direction of our society. It's up to us to write it. The story of our future is still being written, and we are the authors. By standing up, speaking out, and taking action, we can create a world that reflects our values and aspirations. So let's get to work. Together, we can overcome any challenge and build a brighter future for all.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.